Today we're going back to our Build the Perfect series on the docket, hallways. Let's build the perfect hallway together.
The Christian Principles Podcast is brought to you in partnership with the Herzog Foundation, but bear in mind the views and opinions expressed here are those of the hosts and not necessarily of the Herzog Foundation. Welcome to the Christian Principles Podcast. I'm Matt George.
And I'm Mark Zockoll. It is a lovely summer day, and we are thinking about hallways today, folks. Hallways.
When aren't we thinking about hallways?
True enough. Absolutely. Like, I sit down in the morning. I don't have my coffee, but I have whatever I want to drink, the igloo of water, and I say, hallways. Now, mine at my house have a tendency to be of a very odd color because my wife likes the crazy entryway colors. We had a neon green entryway for a while. Now we have this like candy blue, light blue entryway. Doesn't match the rest of the house, but it's what we want. No, I don't spend a lot of time on hallways, but we are today. And apparently you have recently as well at your school. Is that true?
I've given a little thought to it.
Okay.
A little bit.
So you're going to bring some of that knowledge to bear today. We're going to go over everything from student expression to what tech is in the hallway, flooring, ceiling, lockers, but not too long in the lockers. Before we do that, let's hear from the Herzog Foundation.
This episode of the Christian Principles Podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation. As Christian educators, we know that liberty without truth is fragile, and truth starts with God. That's why the Herzog Foundation has launched the Faith and Freedom 250 campaign, an initiative that equips schools and families to connect the biblical roots of American freedom to the next generation. Having started on July 4th, 2025, and following through until July 3rd, 2026, Herzog is releasing short videos each Friday, highlighting voices from across the country, educators, leaders, parents, and everyday Americans, reflecting on key moments in our nation's history and the importance of commemorating 250 years of liberty. We all understand how faith has always been central to our country's founding and why it still matters today. It's an incredible way to integrate history, civics, and biblical worldview into your school's curriculum, especially as we approach America's 250th birthday in 2026. Visit herzogfoundation.com to view their free resources and get started today. And make sure to tell them that the fellas here at the Christian Principles Podcast sent you.
All right, Matt, where do you want to start this conversation about the perfect hallway? Matt, you are building the George Elementary School building or the School of George or the George Excellent Academy. Gee. What are you what does it look like?
It's going to be trampoline floors. Of course, you got to have the padded walls for that. Maybe even like the Velcro ones. So you could just stick kids up there.
Okay.
Yeah,
so insane asylum walls. I gotcha.
If you went to George Academy, then yes, it probably would be insane asylum.
I guess a good way to start this, though, if we don't have another point at which to start, it would be: are we thinking of an elementary style hallway that's bright? You have drawings on it. Are you thinking of more of a varsity hallway that has more school spirit on it, or a professional hallway, or perhaps a church hallway? Like, how do you see, again, the George Academy of Excellence? How do you see that hallway for your school?
First of all, I got to say moving sidewalk as well, because I walk too much in the hallways. So let the floor move me. But it is challenging because, my building is a shared building, church and school. And so you do have to take that into consideration. And I know for many years, church often takes precedence. Like, it's a church first and a school second. But students and teachers are in there an awful lot. Mm-hmm. And so I do tend a little bit more towards the exciting, let's make sure, like, as students are walking down the hallways, they are encouraged, they are excited about learning. All of that, I think, is necessary within a hallway. It's not just the prestige of the school or or anything like that. I think I'm also a historian, so history. There should be a lot of knowing who we are just by walking through our hallways.
I can get behind the history, and of the organization, especially in a church school as you are. The history of the church would be there right along with the history of the school. But in your perfect school, you would make sure you had some murals, some timeline, some like full hallway extension of a timeline. You're talking.
I'm also a picture guy, so tell a story through pictures. I don't want it to become a museum,
Mm-hmm.
but
Sure.
there should be enough information there to be able to really walk away with, I know this school.
That's cool. I like that. We are thinking, of course, of a main hallway, wherever the main drag would be for whatever institution. If I'm going to open up, the Zockoll Academy of Excellence, it's going to include. See, I wouldn't be the one to go for the elementary looking hallway. I would probably start with, I want to see lots of branding all over the hallways. I want to see the proper colors. So it wouldn't be guessing what the color scheme is. It would be, what is the school's color scheme, and I would know that's what's going to be on the hallway. And then it would be, got to see our logo, got to see lots of fear the, or let's go, whatever the mascot happens to be. Definitely want to see that mascot, the brand. I love your thought of the history, and yes, that needs to be on there as well. In Hartford Christian, Mr. Brian Wilson, B-Dubs, he does a great job of B-Dubs. He does a great job of keeping a portrait on the wall of every one of the graduating classes. I've always liked that. I've always thought that was one of those, you keep your past in front of you. You let them know what they're going to be doing. This is what you're shooting for. The portrait of a graduate, back to that discussion that we've had and we're going to have in the future. I love that idea. So there's even some tradition built into the hallway, and really anything else that could be a tradition built into the hallway without it being overly done. And for me, at a Christian school, it's going to be verses. So I want to see a school verse on that hallway. If we're working for a theme, I'm going to have somebody paint the theme on the hallway wall. Even if it means I got to pay extra to have that section of the wall done every year, doesn't matter. I want to see the theme on the hallway wall too. So yeah, in my perfect school, it's not going to be a shared facility that I have to worry about Sunday morning crowds coming in and being offended by what they see. But it's okay. It's the perfect build. It's the perfect hallway.
Yeah.
Anything else to add to yours?
No, there's a lot that I like with yours too. I mean, I guess you brought up about painting. I am a logistics guy, so I want it to be easily painted.
That's true.
I don't want it to be difficult to have to do any changes to it.
Mm-hmm.
And cleaned as well. If it's overly filled with all kinds of stuff, that's just gonna make you look at it and say, "Oh, that's too hard of a job. We'll just leave it." That's where perhaps less is more. If we're gonna put it that way.
I like clean, sharp lines, long horizontal lines that probably split the wall in half. And we got the dominant color and the primary color and the secondary color on those walls. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I like. Now that also moves us further in the conversation towards then, okay, do we got hard walls? You talked about your walls being perhaps padded. So maybe let's imagine we're talking about like drywall walls right now, or perhaps cinder block, but with a paint covering on that we could repaint. Let's go down to the floors then. Matt, age-old question. Are you running hard floors? Are you running soft floors? What you got?
Yeah, when it comes to carpet versus a hard floor, each has its advantages. Your carpet's going to be a lot quieter, obviously. But I think if I'm going to have to ultimately make that decision for myself, I'm going hard for the simple fact that it's easy to clean. It's way easier to clean, and you don't have to worry about as much in it. I'm sure. Again, everything has its own issues, but I think a hard surface is definitely going to be my preference.
Yep, 10 out of 10. Me too. 10 out of 10, 20 out of 20, 100 out of 100 every time hard floor. But I would want it to be an updated hard floor. and for that reason, perhaps I'm not going with like an LVP laydown, or I'm not going with something that has a unique, pixelated tile look, or something that you might see on the mall, the local mall around.
mosaics.
Yeah, like,
You want a
I'm not doing
mosaic
anything like
floor?
that. It's going to be a classic floor. It's going to be a classic, put it down one time and expect it to be there for the rest of time kind of floor.
Yeah,
And
right.
and I, whether that would be just a long run of tile that meets seamlessly, or if it is like grouted work in between, I'm probably going again, like you mentioned, more simple than not. Even like the epoxy floors that are for a garage floor, that sounds interesting to me. So long as, again, the people who are cleaning it have what they need to clean it with.
I
So
was gonna
that,
say if it can be power washed, it's probably good.
love it, love it. Well, we're on the same page there. Now, we promised each other before we started, way back in the day, pre-show, we said we're not going to spend this whole time talking about lockers, because lockers could be their own
Yeah,
entire
we
episode.
could build a perfect locker.
Exactly. So we do need to limit this. First of all, Matt, do you have lockers in your hallways, or do you have them in some other space in your perfect school?
Right. Yeah. If we're talking about main drag of a hallway, I would my preference would be 0 lockers. I would rather not have those lockers in the hallway if I can help it. Again, a lot of that depends on your facility size, and it depends on your student body number. But if we're going to talk about offshoot hallway, maybe an offshoot hallway would be a good place for lockers. But I would rather that hallway be unencumbered with that busyness, but rather like when students happen to be going through there at the same time, they can focus on each other. They can, encourage each other, and it's not just, oh, I got to get my stuff and get out of here. So that's one reason. But yeah, I would prefer them not to be in the hallway.
I have recently seen, especially with the football season coming back on now, it was most recently a Green Bay Packers facilities guy walking through their locker room and showing like the fold down, fold up storage areas. And these lockers, they're small cockpits at this point. They just have everything on them for these teams. And my first thought was, I want a locker room for my faculty.
Yeah.
Now, male and female, like, okay, it's not like bathroom, locker room, shower room, locker room, but more just a space where my faculty walk in, and it could go out into a bed, and it could be where they keep they have a safe, and they have a shelf, they have hangers there. That would be so awesome. So my mind first went there with lockers. But if we're talking about just a traditional school, I understand as well that lockers are traditionally in that hallway because that's where the students will be hitting them on their way between classes and whatnot. But I'm guessing, yes, they're going to wind up back in that main hallway. But I want skinny lockers. I want to encourage students to be as minimalistic as possible with what they bring to school. To be quite honest, I don't want, and really, the more stuff they bring, the more trash, the more garbage, the more issues that come with more stuff. So I think my comment on lockers would be, sure, they can be in the hallway, but they're going to be skinny. And I'm thinking specifically of what would be like a junior high, senior high, because if I can all put those homeroom classes in their homerooms with their storage, they're going in their homeroom with their storage if at all possible.
Agreed.
Okay.
Awesome.
So next up, let's move on to, we've talked about flooring, we've talked about lockers. Are you going to have a certain sort of limitation on what, and we'll go with faculty staff right now, with what faculty and staff or PTO can put on the ceiling or on the walls? Are you going to limit that, or is your main drag hallway untouchable? This kind of goes back to your optics of your overall aesthetic of that hallway in your perfect school. What do you think?
If I were to discourage anything, I would tend to discourage the use of ceiling space in the hallway. I don't have a great reason as to why, but I just kind of like that nice, sharp, clean ceiling. But as far as the walls go, I would have some pointed things that I would want teachers to be putting out on the wall. Here's what's going on in our classroom, a little bit of a snapshot as you pass by. I think that's great. It can get out of hand, where they just kind of go crazy on the walls. But again, as I kind of shared it in my ideal hallway, I went when the second graders going past the sixth grade classroom, they get excited about going to sixth grade. And you can't do that. You don't want, the second graders poking their heads in the classroom. You're going to get that as you pass by the door, which again, doors are going to be an important part of that too.
You know what?
That hallway.
We could go there right now, because I was also thinking that as I do my walkthroughs and my walk-bys, if I'm like the new cool administrator who has no office, he just has that rolling desk he walks around on. One-way mirrors, one-way windows, so the students can't see out into the hallway, but the hallway can see into the classroom. Talk about transparency. That would be a wonderfully transparent opportunity for visits from prospective families. That would be a wonderful opportunity, again, to see the classroom and see what it is that's going on in the classroom, obviously, with the administration. I would love to put in one-way mirrors. Like, I think of the shows that have some kind of police interrogation, like those, kind of like a massive, I don't know what that is, like 4x4, 5x5 square, and just every one of the classrooms has that in the hall.
Is it fiction, or is this a real thing? I feel like I'm making it up, where like you can flip a switch and it stops being a two-way or a one-way mirror.
I'm pretty sure it's a real thing.
Where I think that would be really nice. I think obviously for security reasons, you'd want the teachers to be able to block that should, disaster happen. But I love that, because I hate, as soon as I walk past the door, those kids see me and be like, "Oh, Mr. Jordan," and it just disrupts. And I hate that. I want to be able to see the teacher. Even when the teacher is like, "Oh, boss is here. I better start doing what I'm supposed to be doing." Yeah. I love that you could just walk by, stand there for 15 minutes without them even knowing you're there. I love that.
Man, I think this might be my next idea for a business. Selling schools one way, possibly two, possibly opaque if need be for security reasons, but figuring that out and selling that to schools, because you don't have to interrupt for teacher reviews. You don't have to interrupt for your walkthroughs with new families. You can go and you can view a certain student. You can help. You could have a parent come and actually see their student without knowing that the student's there. Like, all of that is tremendous. It's great stuff. That's going to be on my mind for the rest of the episode now. We'll just be one-way mirrors and how that needs to be in school. Okay. Do you have in your hallway any kind of tech, any kind of display, any speakers, any what do you got? What do you got in your hallways?
Well, what do I have versus what do I want to have? I mean, there's a difference there. We're building perfect.
It's the perfect one. So you got a jumbotron in that bad boy? Like, what do you got in there?
No, not a jumbotron. I do like being able to have a monitor or a screen that maybe is showing some pictures from past some events that just happened, or games that just happened that you could just easily upload and they just scroll through. Again, kind of that at a glance as you're going through that hallway, you get the full gamut of who we are and what we do, and it can be encouraging. Other than that, I wouldn't go very tech heavy. Other than maybe a one school spirit kind of focused screen.
I like it. And is it a big screen? Is it a little screen? Is it, one of those?
Probably 36 inch.
Okay, so it's not.
That's way too small. That's way too small. No,
that's true.
I would not. I mean, I guess I'm having a hard time envisioning in my mind how wide our hallway is. So that's kind of part of it. Depending on, it needs to be proportionate. I'm a proportionate type of guy, not necessarily OCD, but it shouldn't be sticking out like a sore thumb one way or the other. So far
today, you have been the history kind of guy, the picture kind of guy. You have been the what was it?
I don't know. OCD.
Now you said proportion kind of guy.
Yeah.
You're all kinds of guys.
I'm a Renaissance man. What can I say?
I love the idea of some kind of secure, beefy floor to ceiling monitor that, of course, grabs attention. But I probably grow tired of that pretty quick. So it could be that I want the ability to have clear music, clear bells, clear voice in the hallways. Some kind of digital display that shows time, weather. That's very clear. Even like a giant clock. And I also think of like countdown to whatever when the countdown would be to the big game happening
That's
on
cool.
that Thursday
I like that.
night, or or like countdown to Christmas or something like that. So those can be accomplished in a screen, but perhaps to avoid the screen, you just have a countdown that's a big old digital display, and you can change out what you're counting down to. So that would be something I would love to have. That would be more tech, because if it's outside of an office space, you'll see social media, you'll see the weekly memo that goes home, you'll see all kinds of stuff on those. But
Yeah.
if it's in the hallway, I want students to see it and to be moving. I don't want them standing in front of it. So the countdown makes sense. And if that's a screen, that's a screen, but it wouldn't be the latest social media post. It would be something else.
Yeah.
All right. One of my favorite discussion points that we came up with for this show was student expression and student ownership. So are you allowing students to have any sort of personalization, personal creativity, showing ownership in their school? We think of seniors being able to paint their parking spots. We think of students who would make the outside of their locker their somehow unique into them. Are we having students with any personalizable space in that space, or is it going to be communal space we keep their hands off of?
That's an interesting question. I think again, my ideal hallway is more pointed towards the usefulness of the space than necessarily like what exists in the space. Does that make sense?
Okay, sure.
So acoustics and lighting, just real quick. First of all, I don't want just a lights on, lights off. I want multiple lighting settings to be able to set a mood.
Yes.
And then,
because you're a mood kind of guy, right?
Yeah,
you're
I want a mood kind of guy. And then I want awesome acoustics, which would mandate soundproof classrooms. So we'll just throw that one off. The classrooms don't hear anything from the hallway, but I want a student body that can go into the hallway and start singing, and it sounds amazing. Like or cheering or whatever. But to me, outside, and granted, I'm in a facility that doesn't have a huge meeting space. So the hallway is, in my mind, more of the family control room. Like that's where everything happens. And to be able to just get in the hallway and do something like that, I think would just send chills up my spine, and that would be awesome. I would love that. So I would want the student expression side of that to be, student led events, as if you want to put it that way, in the hallway, where they're kind of owning that space. Could it translate to them putting things up, bios or something, or just having a corner or a side of it? I could, probably see that. But again, I see it more in the activity than in just what's there, decor.
There we go. I don't hate it. In fact, I kind of like it. You had mentioned the classrooms and classroom doors. I would like glass doors, but once again, that would need to be able to be shut off for security reasons. So a drape or whatever goes over them. But they need to marry into the overall look. So just a glass door that doesn't look right, not going to happen. So there's some measure of, I need a designer to come with me through my perfect build. But in the perfect build, if glass doors could be there, I would want glass doors there. I would also want a set of double doors to entry for security purposes. So if that was all possible, I would want to do that. And then going back to student student putting their marks on thing, I don't mind a bulletin board or maybe not a screen, but something that the classroom could update the hallway that they are a part of every so often. That's fine. But as far as what students would touch, student touching that glass door, that's what I want the students' hands on. They can touch their classroom door.
Get fingerprints all over it.
Yeah, fingerprints all on that door, or in that one-way mirror. If they can decorate that somehow. But other than that, I want a cleaner look than that. I do.
Yeah.
I really would want a cleaner look than having students' art on there. So maybe it's something that in the summertime I have a section of the wall that I ask a couple of the students come and they are able to create a mural on, or I provide them with that mural outside. But in my hallway, not so much. Anything else you want to add to your perfect hallway, Matt?
I need that moving sidewalk. That's what I need. I need that to run right down the middle and tell everybody to stay off it. That's Mr. George's. And then that's multi-directional as well. So it can take me down the one and then bring me back.
It's like the glass elevator in Charlie's Chocolate Factory, right? You can just go anywhere.
That or I just really need to invest in like a hover round or something, because I walk up and down the hallways way too much.
No, there's no such thing. You can't do that. All right, tell me who it is that we are going to be spotlighting today in our Christian Administrator Spotlight.
Yeah, we're shouting out Candy Barnes over at Accomack Christian Academy in Accomack, Virginia.
All right, so Candy Barnes, Accomack County Accomack Christian Academy. As you ride south on Langford Highway, which extends, it's Route 13, and it's business through Salisbury, Maryland, through it runs the spine of Delaware. It says on the spine of Delaware, basically. Sure. Route 13, and then it drops into the eastern shore of Virginia. You cross over to Accomack County on the eastern shore of Virginia. Beautiful space, open, lots of agriculture going on down there. And then off to the left, as you head south, you hit Accomack, and you run into a pole barn church and a pole barn new build, and it's Accomack Christian Academy. And I see it every time I head south, and every time I'm with my family heading somewhere or something else, and I don't make an appointment to stop in, but sometime I'm going to stop in and I'm going to see Accomack Christian Academy in action. They are K-5 through 12th grade, and Candy Barnes, I believe Candy Barnes is somehow related to the pastor of that church, and she is now the administrator of the school there. So we're going to pray for Candy Barnes, and I saw on their Facebook page recently that they're promoting their enrollment, as I'm sure many of you are, so we're going to go ahead and pray over her enrollment as well, and I will pray for us today for Candy. Father in heaven, we remember before you Candy and her work at Accomack Christian Academy. Please, Lord, make the work there successful. As the Eastern Shore of Virginia, you go a long way between seeing any Christian schools. There's only 3, I believe, there on the Eastern Shore of Virginia. So, Lord, please do make that work strong. Make it available for those who would need it in their own mission-seeking, mission-minded way. And may you be glorified, of course, in all things. Give Candy a special grace as she moves into the 25-26 school year. May their enrollment be what they were hoping for, wishing for it to be, and praying for it to be as well. We love you. Amen.
Amen.
Well, we've attacked another part of our building in this Build the Perfect series, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been fun. I had to think through things I wouldn't have otherwise think about.
I love building perfect things. We went away from this far too long, so we need to get back to building perfect stuff.
All right, tell us what we should build next. Also, make sure you are following, liking, subscribing here on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify or on YouTube. Make sure you're seeing our YouTube shorts to come along. Subscribe there. We want to see ourselves reach our 250 followers on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, Lord willing. And we'd also like to see ourselves get to 75 downloads per episode. Make sure you hit that follow so it automatically downloads wherever you are, and we'll thank you for it. But besides that, thanks for growing with us today.
Before you go, please be sure to hit that follow button on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, on Spotify, be sure to tap the star icon near the top and select the number of stars you'd like to give us. We'd be so grateful for 5. On Apple Podcasts, scroll down to the ratings and review section and then tap write a review to share your thoughts of the podcast. Thank you.